human traffickers. One of the victims was just 3 months old.
Children are a way for them to make money. They can turn them into prostitutes, and it could be a lucrative business for them, and it's a pretty
Tonight we are learning about an FBI raid. Virginia, now this was part of a sex trafficking and drug distribution investigation.
Sydney Persing has surveillance video of the operation. She's live tonight in Dumfries.
Around 11:43 p.m., scanners in Boston cracked alive with broken fragments. Federal warrant, Cambridge target, vessel lockdown, multiple detainees. A black-holed yacht rocked against the cold water off the harbor while lights burned across the deck like a warning. By the time the first command moved through the radio net, panic had already outrun the tide. In Cambridge, the operation carried a sealed name, Black Wake. For 7 months, agents from the FBI, ICE, and the DOJ had tracked a money trail that kept surfacing in the same places. Harvard Square restaurants after closing, a private dock in Boston, a townhouse near Brattle Street, and a cluster of encrypted transfers routed through shell charities. Every line looked polished. None of it felt clean. The public face of the network was elegant enough to survive casual scrutiny. It called itself the Halcyon Maritime Foundation, a donor-backed institution that claimed to sponsor migration research, coastal health initiatives, and lecture exchanges between Boston and Washington, D.C. Its brochures carried the language of philanthropy. Its galas attracted investors, visiting scholars, and city-connected intermediaries. Its books showed grants. Its servers showed nothing ordinary. That was the first problem. The second was the couple at the center of it, two celebrated Harvard professors whose names moved easily through Cambridge circles, embassy receptions, and invitation-only fundraising events. They lectured on global mobility by day, then disappeared behind private drivers, sealed manifests, and a yacht that never stayed moored in one place for long. It looked like status. It functioned like cover. Nobody outside the task force knew why the yacht mattered. Not yet. The lead that changed everything arrived from Quincy, where a night manager at a marina reported a series of off-hours arrivals tied to a tender with altered registration digits. The same tender had been seen near Revere 2 weeks earlier, then logged again near a private slip in Boston under a different owner profile. The paperwork shifted. The crew list shifted. One symbol did not. It appeared on invoices, on wristbands, and eventually on a valet tag found in Cambridge, a circle cut by 3 diagonal strokes. Inside the Joint Command Room, that symbol had a street label. Agents called it Lantern Row, a code name for the discrete corridor of drop sites running from a townhouse off Mount Auburn Street down toward the river. Couriers came in on foot. Cars never idled for long. Packages moved without signatures. Someone had built a city within the city, and it breathed under academic respectability. At 11:51 p.m., tactical teams initiated entry. Massachusetts State Police units sealed the streets around the Cambridge residence while the U.S. Coast Guard boxed in the yacht from the harbor side. Boston Police Department cruisers cut access to the marina. ICE financial investigators locked down 2 office suites near the seaport. The Suffolk County District Attorney's Office had prosecutors awake, drafted and waiting for the first digital intake. Then the whole plan lurched. A burst of signal noise slammed into the warrant server just as agents reached the lower deck. Nothing external. It came from inside. For 19 seconds, tablet screens froze across 3 teams. Door schematics vanished. Live location pings collapsed into static. A field tech in Boston shouted that the authentication chain had been poisoned by a malicious script hiding in a mirrored archive. The cyber package had a name embedded in the code. Ghost Current. Someone knew the raid was coming. On the yacht, units advanced anyway. They cleared the salon, the upper cabins, the galley, and a private office paneled in dark walnut, where maritime charts hung beside framed certificates and donor plaques. Everything was immaculate, almost offensively so. No signs of chaos, no hurried exit, no smashed devices. That calm was worse than a gunshot because it meant the people inside had trusted the system around them. Below deck, a sealed compartment changed the night. It sat behind a climate-controlled wine wall that should have ended its steel. An FBI breacher noticed a half-inch variance in the frame. Then a second officer found a pressure switch disguised as a brass bottle rest. When the hidden panel slid aside, the passage opened into a compartment lined with signal-dampening foam, biometric locks, and stacked cases of passports, satellite phones, forged maritime IDs, and cash bands sorted by currency. Behind the last crate was the artifact that gave the case its shape. A blue vellum ledger stamped with a single word in gold leaf, Auburn. At 12:08 a.m., the first review of the Auburn ledger began on the aft table beneath portable flood lamps. It contained 213 coded entries, 72 account references, 17 country markers, 9 language abbreviations, and a recurring payment ladder that escalated in terrifying precision. Next to certain initials were symbols matching port access. The diplomatic handling, municipal inspections, and private security escorts. This was no isolated vice circuit, it was infrastructure. The numbers spiraled beyond Cambridge almost instantly, but the engine of the network still sat in Massachusetts. Revere Apartments linked to transport staging. A Worcester warehouse held costumes, burner devices, forged hospitality credentials, and hard drives packed inside medical refrigeration units. Quincy storage lockers carried printed guest rosters aligned to yacht weekends. In Boston, a luxury event office disguised as a cultural consultancy had direct lines into booking staff, drivers, and concierge brokers. The front had depth. Its protection had reach. Before the public knew any of that, 41 suspects were already in custody. Among them were brokers, recruiters, fixers, private guards, OTA money couriers, and 24 officials connected through licensing shortcuts, transit clearances, inspection overrides, procurement approvals, or sealed advisories that should never have been touched. Some had local influence. Some were federal-adjacent contractors. A few had spent years hiding behind compliance language that looked too boring to investigate. By 12:26 a.m., the panic crossed into the open. A coordinated cyber strike rippled through 2 evidence routing systems in Boston and 1 archival relay in Washington, D.C., trying to corrupt custody logs before dawn. The attackers aimed at timestamps, not files. They wanted the chain of proof to look weak, contaminated, disputable. It was a smart move, and for nearly 6 minutes, it worked. Then FinCEN analysts caught the signature mismatch. The malware had rerouted through a Cambridge research subnet, leased under a vendor account attached to the Halcyon Maritime Foundation. That trace moved fast to a second address near Kendall Square, then to a secure laptop registered to a contractor embedded with the task force itself. The betrayal was suddenly no longer theoretical. His name was Owen Mercer. He sat in meetings, summarized financial anomalies, and volunteered for overnight synchronization duty because no one objects to the quiet man who keeps the data moving. According to the trace, Mercer had seeded Ghost Current 84 minutes before the raid, cloned an internal access token, and forwarded partial movement schedules to a dead drop server parked behind a legal traffic simulator. He did not warn the entire network. He warned only the layer that mattered most: the yacht crew. That decision told investigators something the ledger had not. There were factions inside the enterprise, and not all of them trusted one another. Onshore in Cambridge, teams searching the professor's townhouse discovered why. Inside a study hidden beyond a false shelving wall, agents recovered handwritten notes linking donors, shell companies, travel coordinators, and a private hospitality chain that moved victims through conference weekends and invitation-only retreats. One margin carried 5 initials in red ink. Every initial matched a name already flagged in Auburn. One entry had been crossed out so violently it tore the paper. Next to it were 2 words: Burn Mercer. The morning crowd in Harvard Square woke to barricades, camera crews, and the hard glare of federal flood units reflecting off wet stone. Students stared from dorm windows. Faculty phones lit up with internal alerts. A line formed outside a coffee shop before sunrise, but nobody ordered quickly because every conversation had bent toward the same fear: how far the stain reached, and who had been protected by prestige long enough for the machinery to harden. Harvard administrators turned over access records before noon. The institution moved to distance itself from the couple, their donor network, and the foundation that had orbited its events. But the imagery was already fixed in the public mind. Boston Harbor lights, Cambridge brick, black SUVs, a yacht under seizure tape, and the suggestion that reputation had been sold room by room. By then, the press had the arrest counts and the first whisper of the ledger. They did not yet have the names coded in the back half. That section was worse. It mapped what the network called safe corridors, routes between Boston, Quincy, Revere, and Worcester, designed to bypass notice by exploiting predictable blind spots in municipal scheduling, harbor oversight, and private event staffing. There were notes on hotel floor plans, notes on ride timing, notes on how to bury movement inside charity functions and academic receptions, where nobody wanted to ask the wrong question in the wrong room. The cruelty of it was administrative. Every horror had been made efficient. Late in the sweep, agents found one more concealed device in the yacht's engine compartment, wired inside a shielded panel behind emergency battery controls. It held a compact archive of clipped audio, transcripts and voice memos from buyers, coordinates. One memo captured a simple instruction delivered in a calm voice over engine hum: keep Cambridge quiet, keep Boston moving, keep the papers clean. The voice was not Owen Mercer's. That thread stayed alive even after the first indictments were signed. By 12:57 a.m., the U.S. Attorney's Office had enough to lock emergency motions, deny release for key defendants, and begin the first asset freeze sequence against properties, vessels, shell accounts, and trust instruments tied to the Halcyon network. DOJ lawyers moved on seizure orders. ICE traced cross-border transport patterns. The FBI pushed exploitation evidence to victim specialists before sunrise. The city still looked normal from a distance. Streetlights held, trains ran, the Charles River kept its surface. But under that calm, Boston and Cambridge had been forced to confront a brutal fact. Institutions do not collapse only from outside attack. Sometimes they're hollowed out by people who understand exactly how much deference a title can buy, how much silence money can rent, and how long a polished public life can delay the knock at the door. Operation Black Wake did not end at the yacht. It widened through court filings, sealed interviews, digital reconstructions, and a rolling examination of who signed what, who ignored what, and who profited while the Foundation name traveled through banquet halls like a badge of virtue. The arrests were the headline. The paperwork was the reckoning, and paperwork, unlike performance, does not blink. If trust can be dressed up in prestige, if power can hide inside charity, if a city can be taught to look away because the people involved seem untouchable, then what exactly keeps any institution clean when the lights finally hit the water?